There are places where the final bell doesn't mean freedom, where the hallway shadows get darker when the lights go out, where the coats hang in the locker, but the kids never come back. Something is waiting, and it's learning your name. Tonight, 3 people who walked out of school that last day will tell you what they found. The senior who stayed late for finals, who followed a janitor to room 312, who turned and saw her own face staring back from the dark. The teacher who heard the end-of-year bell ring, who watches her students freeze with hollow eyes, who saw them all walk out the 3rd-floor window into the parking lot below. The deputy who found the entire high school empty after graduation, except for room 204, where the doorframe was fused shut with orange residue and 17 student IDs stacked neatly inside the desk. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones. Story 1. The stranger led me to the empty classroom. I never thought the last day of school would be the day I almost died. I was 17, a senior at Lincoln High in Philadelphia, and I should have been celebrating. Finals were done, summer was starting. My acceptance letter from Penn State was sitting in my mailbox back home. But I made a mistake. I stayed late. It was May 18th, 2023. The sun was going down around at 8:30, and the building was already emptying out. Most of my classmates had grabbed their things and left within minutes of the final exam ending. I was the only one who asked Mr. Henderson if I could stay and review my answers. He said yes, said the room was open until 9, said he'd be in the office across the hall if I needed anything. I didn't need anything. I just needed to understand why I got a 72 on a test I studied 3 weeks for. The hallway was quiet when I finished, not completely empty. There were a couple of people in the lobby, a security guard pacing near the entrance. But the 3rd floor where the exam rooms were was dead. The kind of quiet that makes your ears feel full. I was walking down the hallway toward the exit, my backpack heavy on one shoulder, when I heard someone behind me. Student? I stopped, turned. There was a man standing about 20 feet back near room 308. He was wearing a janitor's uniform, dark blue with a name tag that was turned so I couldn't read it. He looked maybe 50, maybe 60, with gray hair and a face that looked like it had been carved from something hard. His eyes were too light for his skin, like pale yellow against brown. Yeah, I said. I didn't know why I said it that way. It came out small. You're still here, he said. He didn't move forward. He just stood there watching me. Room 312 is open. You can study there. I looked at the door behind him. Room 308. Then I looked past him, further down the hallway. Room 312 was another 40 feet away, on the other side of the stairwell. I'd never been in that room. I didn't know what it was. I'm done, I said. I'm leaving. The man nodded. He didn't say anything else. He just watched me walk past him, and I could feel his eyes on my back the whole time. My footsteps were loud on the tile. I counted them. 23 steps to the stairwell. I was halfway there when I heard the door behind me open. Then I heard him say, room 312 is open. I stopped. I didn't want to turn around. My instinct was screaming at me to keep walking, to get to the lobby, to get outside, to get to the bus stop. But something else, something stupid, something curious made me say, what's in room 312? The man was closer now. He'd moved without me hearing him. He was standing right behind my left shoulder, and I could smell him. Not sweat, not cleaning supplies. Something else, like old paper, like dust that had been sitting in a closed box for decades. Empty classroom, he said. No one uses it. You can study. I'm done, I said again. But I was already turning, already looking past him down the hallway. The lights were off in most of the rooms, but room 312, the light was on, a single bulb flickering, casting a pale yellow glow through the window in the door. I don't know why I walked toward it. I do know that the janitor didn't follow me. He stayed where he was, at the edge of the stairwell, watching. I counted his footsteps as I walked. He didn't make any. I was at the door in 12 seconds. I put my hand on the knob. It was cold. Inside, the room was exactly what he said. Empty. 4 rows of desks, all pushed to the front. A whiteboard on the wall covered in writing that looked like it had been there for years. The only light was from the bulb overhead, and it was flickering so bad I could see the shadow of it moving on the walls. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds. Then I turned to leave. And that's when I saw him. The janitor, he was standing into the doorway. He hadn't moved from the stairwell. I know he hadn't. I was looking at him when I walked past, but now he was here in the room with me, and I hadn't heard him cross the hallway. "You can study," he said. I backed up. My hand hit the desk behind me. "I'm leaving." "Room 312 is open," he said again. Same words, same tone, like he was saying it for the first time. I turned and ran. I was at the door in 3 steps, and I was out in the hallway before I realized I'd left my backpack on the desk. I didn't care. I was halfway to the stairwell when I heard the door close behind me. Not a slam, just a click, like someone had gently pushed it shut. I kept walking. I got to the lobby. The security guard was there talking to someone on the phone. I didn't stop. I went through the exit, out into the parking lot, and I started walking toward the bus stop. My phone was in my hand. I was calling my mom. She didn't answer. I called again. Still no answer. I called my friend Jessica. She answered after 2 rings. "Where are you?" I said. My voice was shaking. I could hear it. "Home," she said. "Why, what's wrong?" "I stayed late," I said. "I was in the building. There was a janitor. He tried to..." I stopped. I didn't know how to finish that. "He tried to keep me in room 312. Jessica was quiet for a second. Then she said, "What floor?" "3rd. "Lincoln?" "Yeah." "Brittany," she said. "There's no room 312 on the 3rd floor." I stopped walking. The bus was coming down the street, and I could see it through the fog of my own panic. "What?" "There is," she said, "but it's not a classroom." "What is it?" "Duh. It's where they put the bodies," she said, "before the ambulance comes, when someone dies on campus." I stopped walking. The bus was pulling away from the stop. I was waving at the driver, and he was looking at me like I was crazy. "What?" "3 years ago," Jessica said, "a student. He had a heart attack in the library. They found him an hour later. He was in room 312 for 6 hours before anyone checked." "That's not..." I started. Then I stopped again, because I was looking at the building. The whole thing was dark now. The lights were off. The windows were black. And I was trying to remember what the janitor's face looked like. I couldn't. Not his eyes, not his hair, not the shape of his mouth. I could remember the uniform. I could remember the smell. But the face, it was like it had been erased. "Jessica," I said, "I think he was wearing my face." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "What?" When I turned around, I said, "In the room. When I saw him in the doorway, he was wearing my face." "Okay," she said. "Okay, you're freaking yourself out. You're tired. You're stressed. Go home. Sleep. We'll talk about it tomorrow." "That's not..." I stopped. I was on the bus now. It was pulling away from the stop. I was waving at the driver, and he was looking at me like I was crazy. "Jessica, I'm not freaking out." "Okay," she said. "Okay. Just come home. Call me when you get there." I did. I called her from my apartment. I told her everything. She told me to go to the police. I said I would. I didn't. I went to the building the next morning. I walked to the 3rd floor. I stood in front of room 312. The door was locked. The window was dark. I looked through it. The room was empty. The desks were there. The whiteboard was there. But the light was off. I went to the security office. I asked for the janitor's name. They said there wasn't one. They said the building didn't have a janitor. They said the cleaning crew came at night, and they were all from a company I didn't know. I asked about room 312. They said it was a storage room. They said it hadn't been used for 3 years. They said no one went in there. I went back to my apartment. I called Jessica. I told her what they said. She was quiet. Then she said, "Check the news." I did. I searched for Lincoln High Philadelphia student death 2020. I found it. A 17-year-old female, a heart attack, found in the library, taken to room 312 before the ambulance arrived. Her name was Brittany. Brittany Malone. She was 17. She was a senior. She was waiting for grad school acceptance at Penn State. I looked at the photo. It was her. It was me. It was the same face. I didn't go back to the building. I didn't tell the police. I graduated in December. I moved to State College. But sometimes when I'm alone in my apartment, when the lights are flickering, when the quiet is too full, I hear a door click, and I hear a voice say, "Room 312 is open." And I remember that the janitor wasn't wearing my face. I remember that he was wearing Brittany's face. And I remember that Brittany died 3 years before I stayed late. Story 2. The final bell rang, but no one left. I taught 10th grade English at Roosevelt High in Detroit for 12 years. I had 23 students in my class. Most of them were good kids. Some of them were struggling. None of them were dangerous. That's what I thought. June 5th, 2023, the last day of school. The final bell was at 2:30. I had been planning this day for weeks. I had a party in the classroom. I bought pizza. I had gotten balloons. I had written a speech on the whiteboard that said, "Congratulations, class of 2023. You made it." At 2:15, the bell rang. It was the same bell it had been for 12 years. The same sound, the same echo down the hallway, the same chaos of kids shouting, chairs scraping, doors slamming. But this time it was different, because when the bell stopped, the room didn't empty. I looked up from my desk. I was expecting to see 23 kids grabbing their things, saying goodbye, laughing. But they were all still there. They were all sitting in their chairs. They were all facing me, and they were all silent. "Okay," I said. I smiled. "Let's go, guys. Pizza's getting cold." None of them moved. "Come on," I said. "You've been waiting for this day for 9 months. Let's celebrate." Still nothing. I stood up. I walked to the front of the room. I looked at them. 23 kids, all staring at me, all blank. Their eyes weren't focused. They weren't looking at me. They were looking through me. "Is everyone okay?" I said. "Do you need to go to the nurse?" The boy in the front row, Michael, 18, had been in my class for 3 years, tilted his head, just a fraction, like a bird, like something that wasn't human. Then he spoke. "The bell rang," he said. "Yeah," I said. "It's the last day." "We have to go," he said. "Where?" I said. "Class is done." Michael didn't answer. He just stood up. The other kids stood up too. All 23 of them, all at the same time, all with the same motion, like they were connected. "Where are you going?" I said. "There's no bus. School's done." Michael looked at me. His eyes were wrong. They were too wide, too white. "The window," he said. "What?" I said. "The window," he said. "We have to go through the window." I looked out the window. It was on the far side of the room, 3rd floor. It opened onto the parking lot. It was maybe 30 feet down. "Michael," I said, "you can't go through the window." He didn't answer. He just walked toward it. The other kids followed, all 23 of them, all in a line, all silent. I ran to the front of the room. I blocked the door. "No," I said, "you can't. You'll die." Michael stopped. He looked at me. His face was wrong. It was too smooth, like it had been melted. "We have to go," he said. "Please," I said. "Sit down. Let's talk about this." He didn't sit. He walked around me. The other kids walked around me, all 23 of them, all in a line, all silent. I ran to the window. I grabbed the frame. I tried to close it. It wouldn't move. It was stuck. "Michael," I said, "stop." He was at the window. He was looking out. The other kids were behind him, all 23 of them, all waiting. "Michael," I said, "please." He turned. He looked at me. His face was wrong. His mouth was wrong. It was too wide. The bell rang. He said, "We have to go." He stepped out. He didn't fall. He walked. He walked down the side of the building, like there was a floor, like there was ground, like he was on solid earth. The other kids followed, all 23 of them, all walking, all silent. I stood at the window. I watched them. I counted them. 23. All gone, all on the ground, all walking toward the parking lot. I ran to the door. I ran down the hallway. I ran down the stairs. I ran out the exit. I ran to the parking lot. They were there, all 23 of them, all standing in a line, all facing the same direction, all silent. "Michael," I said, "what are you doing?" He turned, he looked at me. His face was wrong. His eyes were wrong. "The bell rang," he said. "We're going home." "Where?" I said. "Your house is 30 miles away." "We're going home," he said. "The bell rang." I looked at the other kids. They were all the same, all blank, all silent, all wrong. "Please," I said, "let's go to the office. Let's call your parents." Michael didn't answer. He turned, he walked away. The other kids followed, all 23 of them, all in a line, all silent. I ran after them. I grabbed Michael's arm. "Stop," I said, "please." He looked at me. His face was wrong. His mouth was wrong. "The bell rang," he said. "You can't stop us." He pulled away. He walked away. The other kids followed, all 23 of them, all in a line, all silent. I stood there. I watched them. I counted them. 23. All gone. All walking toward the road. All heading north. I ran back to the school. I ran to the office. I called the police. They came. They found the kids. They found them on the road. 30 miles north, on the edge of town, all 23 of them, all standing in a line, all facing the same direction, all silent. They tried to talk to them. They didn't answer. They tried to move them. They didn't move. They took them to the hospital. They ran tests. They did scans. They found nothing, no drugs, no illness, no injury. They called the parents. They came, they took their kids home. I went back to school the next day. The building was empty. The classrooms were empty. The hallways were empty. I went to my room. I walked in. I looked at the whiteboard. The speech was gone. The words were gone. All that was left was one sentence written in red. The bell rang. I didn't teach at Roosevelt High after that. I quit. I moved. I started teaching at a different school. But sometimes when I'm in my classroom, when the bell rings at the end of the day, when the kids are grabbing their things, I hear them. 23 voices, all saying the same thing. And this bell rang, we have to go to see. And I look at the window and I remember that Michael didn't fall. He walked. And I remember that the other kids didn't follow him. They followed something else. Something that was waiting, something that was learning, something that was collecting them. Story 3, campus intact except for one classroom. I was a deputy with the Macomb County Sheriff's Department in Michigan for 8 years. I worked on investigations. I handled missing persons. I handled the weird stuff. This was the weirdest. June 10th, 2024, Northwood High. Graduation was the night before. The whole town was celebrating. The school was supposed to be empty. The staff was supposed to be gone. The kids were supposed to be at home. But at 7 a.m., the fire department got a call. Smoke, 3rd floor, room 204. I was one of the first responders. I got there at 7:20. The building was empty. The parking lot was empty. The hallways were empty. We went up. 3rd floor, room 204. The door was locked. We opened it. There was no smoke. There was no fire. There was just the room. 4 rows of desks, all pushed to the front. A whiteboard on the wall, clean, empty. The only light was from the window. Pale morning sun. But the door was wrong. The door frame was fused shut, not burned, not melted, fused. Like the metal and the wood had been melted together and then cooled into one piece. And it was orange, not rust orange, not fire orange, something else, something I couldn't name. I looked inside. The room was empty, but on the desk in the front, there were things. I walked in. I looked down. 17 student IDs, all stacked neatly, all in a row, all facing the same direction. I picked one up. It was a girl, Sarah Mitchell, 17, senior. I picked up another. It was a boy, Michael Torres, 18, senior. I picked up another. It was a girl, Jessica Chen, 17, senior. I counted them. 17, all seniors, all from Northwood High, all graduated the night before. I called it in. I told the chief. He came, he looked, he didn't say anything. We called the parents. They came, they saw the IDs, they saw the door, they saw the room. They didn't say anything. They just cried. I went to the office. I looked at the records. I looked at the graduation list. I looked at the student list. There were 17 seniors, all graduated, all gone. But the school was empty. The building was empty. The parking lot was empty. Where were they? I called the parents again. I asked them where their kids were. They said home. They said they were at home. They said they graduated the night before. They said they went home. They said they were sleeping. I went to the houses. I checked. All 17 houses, all empty. All the kids are gone. All the parents were crying. All parents say the same thing. They graduated. They went home. They're sleeping. But they weren't sleeping. They weren't home. They weren't anywhere. I looked at the door again, the orange residue, the fused frame. I touched it. It was warm, not hot, warm, like it was breathing. I called the state. I called the fire department. I called the FBI. They came. They looked. They did tests. They ran skiing. They took samples. They found nothing. No fire, no smoke, no chemicals, no radiation, no toxins. Just orange, just fused, just 17 IDs. I closed the case. I marked it unresolved. I filed it. I put it in the box. But I didn't forget. I went back to the school. I went to room 204. I stood in the doorway. I looked inside. The room was empty. The desk was empty. The IDs were gone, but the door was still fused, still orange, still warm. I touched it. It was warmer now, like it was getting hotter. I stepped back. I walked away. I left. I didn't go back. But sometimes when I'm driving at night, when the road is empty, when the quiet is too full, I see it. A school, 3rd floor, room 204, a door, fused, orange, warm, 17 IDs stacked, neat, facing, and I hear them, 17 voices, all saying the same thing. The bell rang, we're going home. And I remember that the kids weren't gone. They were never there. They were never students. They were never human. They were something else. Something that was waiting, something that was learning, something that was collecting them. And I remember that the door wasn't fused by fire. It was fused by something else, something that was there, something that was waiting, something that is still there, still waiting, still learning, still collecting. This has been Whisper Dread Studios. Some stories were never meant to be told, but we told them anyway.